Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where this hair won't be tamed. I tried to get it under control, but then it became a struggle as to what was more important, getting this hair under control or getting this episode out at a reasonable time. So I went with the time because I'm particularly excited about today's episode because we have not only some really interesting stories to discuss, but a nice variety of stories. Sometimes I get a complaint that these episodes are too comic book movie news focused. So I love comic book movie news, and I know that most of you do, but I'm aware of that. So when I can deliver equally interesting stories that discuss different parts of the business, other parts of the business, I'm particularly pleased. But first off, our friends at DolbyAtmos are very busy mixing movies. They just have one after the other, and that means they have one after the other giveaways. But today's giveaway, as you can see from the pictures on the screen, is a very unique one, and that is for Terminator Genisys. Now, as you might recall, I didn't like Terminator Genisys, but I also recall that some of you did enjoy that movie. Some of you said, you know what, that's my Speed Racer. That's a movie that I really like. Public opinion be damned. I stand by that. So if you're one of those people, here's your chance to own it for free. So Dolby Atmos, and I struggled with giving this one away because I was like, I don't like the movie. I know that a lot of people don't like the movie. But who am I to judge those that do? So I think that if you do like Terminator Genisys, or if you want to add it to your collection regardless, maybe you're like, you know what, I have all the other Terminator movies. Why not complete the set with this opportunity that has arisen? So I have 3 copies again to give away. So these are the rules. It's Wednesday, so yet again, you have until the end of the day Friday to tweet me. So what you do is you tweet me at Grace Randolph, and you include the hashtag DolbyAtmos, and then you have to also include the hashtag Terminator Genisys. I will also accept Terminator 5. I believe this is the 5th one. Yes, the Terminator 5. So, if you want to have more characters. And also if you can't spell Genesis. So anyway, and then with the remaining characters, you need to tell me why the Terminator franchise always comes back. All right, so again, you have till the end of the day Friday to tweet me at Grace Randolph, include the hashtag DolbyAtmos, hashtag Terminator Genisys or Terminator 5, and then tell me why you think the Terminator franchise always comes back. And I'll pick the best 3 ones to announce on Monday, and you guys will get a free Blu-ray copy of the film. And there again, three people are going to win this, so good luck to everyone. And also, the odds might be more in favor for you in this one because I don't know how many people are going to enter it. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised and a bunch of people will want this. So we'll see. And also, a big thanks to Dolby Atmos. We joke about Terminator Genisys, but they're just so nice to think of us and allow me to give you these movies for free. I think that's really nice of them, and they're really great about sending them out. And I love when you guys tweet me photos of you with your DVD or Blu-ray that you got, and so I just think it's a really nice thing to have here on the show. All right, so let's get to today's stories. I promised you a variety pack, and a variety pack I shall deliver. Now, I do have one story that is, more in the genre comic booky area, and that, of course, is Star Wars. Star Wars is finally starting to pick up some major steam. I always try and see what people are searching for Beyond the Trailer with, and Star Wars, which hasn't been on, in the search engine for Beyond the Trailer for quite some time, finally popped up to like 1st and 2nd place pretty much. So people finally are like, okay, it's Star Wars time. But Disney isn't letting up. They're not taking any chances. And they have a special preview. So much for that being the final trailer, by the way. They're like, final trailer, but not really. They're going to have a special preview, where else, on ABC on Thursday night during the Shonda Rhimes lineup. Now, they're not going to tell you where it is because they want you to watch the whole lineup. But basically, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder. So somewhere, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe pieced it out to each show because they really want you to watch this. And they also want you to watch, Thursday night, Shonda Rhimes' programming block, she really does a great job there, and she has a lot of very strong ratings, really, always trending on Twitter. And I don't think you could have Empire today over on Fox if it wasn't for Shonda Rhimes and her success over on ABC. And Grey's Anatomy was her first show, and then you can see she's expanded throughout Thursday as time has gone on. And I think to her credit, especially with Grey's Anatomy, and also the other shows, they're very diverse. But I think there's no denying that she has a very strong Black audience and a very strong female audience. And what do you know? That's who Star Wars is trying to appeal to with the casting of Finn and Rey. Well, not the casting of Finn and Rey, but creating those characters, right? So I think it's interesting that Disney was like, you know what? We've already got everyone who's already a Star Wars fan, like a hardcore Star Wars fan. Let's try and get those people who, we want to get because we included these characters. Of course, everybody always wants to do the bigger thing and say, let's have a more diverse cast. Let's bring in different types of people so they can be part of Star Wars lore. That's all well and good. But as is the case in Hollywood all the time, everything is motivated by a business decision. So I think very much so that Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams were like, and you know what? Those demographics will come out and support our movie because we know we have the guys, especially we know we have the older guys. Let's try and get black audiences, Latino audiences to some degree with Oscar Isaac. I think they have not really advertised him very much though, and also women with Daisy Ridley, right? Let's get those people into Star Wars and just be at every quadrant movie, right? Although I think someone argued that Star Wars isn't every quadrant movie anyway because it's so famous, but you would be wrong because look at how the ticket buying has broken down already. Although I do agree with some of you that guys might have purchased the tickets, but they purchased them for the women and the children in their lives, and also their diverse friends as well. So I don't know. You can make those arguments if you wanted to. But bottom line, according to the numbers that Disney has gotten, it's the average age is about, I think, 34, if I recall, 34, 35, and it's mostly guys. It's like 70% male. And it's people who go to the movies the first weekend anyway, right? So it's like they already got those people. So now clearly they're getting the people who like to stay home and watch TV. So I think it's really interesting, and I think it's the first true acknowledgement we've seen of this business strategy for Star Wars. So I'm very curious to see what kind of preview they put together because they're obviously trying to target those demographics. So what will they feel will get them? And also because obviously they feel they haven't gotten them already, right? So they're probably going to change up their advertising strategy just a little bit, which I think is very interesting. I'd also like to take a moment to talk about Shonda Rhimes because lo and behold, last night I had some time to kill and I picked up a Time magazine, Time to Kill, Time magazine, and in the back they had like a little quick interview with Shonda Rhimes, and it was a great interview. So if you find yourself near a newsstand, I think that Time Magazine, because I've tried to send articles to people before, is subscription blocked, so you can't really read it online. But if you can get your hands on a Time Magazine, or just like try and find any interview with Shonda Rhimes, I think she's a really interesting individual, and she's obviously quite a successful individual. And so I'm just impressed with Shonda Rhimes quite a bit. I think she's getting more and more in the spotlight as she deserves to be. So, and also clearly is an asset to ABC/Disney. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as well. And she's done quite a bit for, diversifying who's on camera. And, she of course brings diversity to behind the camera, but she's responsible not only for, Kerry Washington's career, although Kerry Washington hasn't quite caught on beyond Scandal, but of course Viola Davis, winning Viola Davis that Emmy. Viola Davis won her own Emmy, but of course Shonda Rhimes helped by giving her such a great property to be in. And also Shonda Rhimes writes her own shows as well, or is part of the writing staff. So, that contributes as well. So anyway, that's the first story of the day, and I'm very curious to what you think of it. Do you plan to watch the Thursday night lineup? Do you already watch the Thursday night lineup on ABC? And what do you think of Star Wars now finally starting to, show their hand and be like, yeah, we want these demographics. We're actively going after them, and they should come up because look who we cast in our film. You guys come on, you got to come and support that. So I think that's very interesting. And maybe they feel, actually that's probably it. Maybe Disney is like, why didn't these people support the movie when we put them in the film, right? Like, why aren't they buying tickets in advance? What the heck, man? So it's very, very interesting indeed. And also, I wouldn't worry too much. Star Wars is playing on so many screens that you won't have to wait that long to see it if you want to see it and you don't have your tickets yet. You just probably won't be able to see it opening night or opening weekend on an IMAX screen. But you'll be able to find a screen, I think, by the end of the weekend. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, the second story of the day was actually tweeted to me by a BTT viewer, so I did some digging and looked into it. And this is a new Netflix deal with another filmmaker that they have scooped up from, traditional film, and they're going to put them on Netflix with an original property. And that's Snowpiercer's Bong Joon-ho. Now, I think this is fascinating. So let me just tell you about the deal first, and then we'll talk about what it means, etc. So Netflix and also Brad Pitt will be producing, and don't forget Brad Pitt's already in bed with Netflix because they paid $60 million for his comedic war movie, right? Well, I wouldn't say comedic because it's also supposed to have strong commentary, but anyway. So Brad Pitt, Netflix teaming up again, this time with Bong Joon-ho, South Korean filmmaker from Snowpiercer, who did Snowpiercer, and they're going to give him $50 million. But what Bong Joon-ho really likes is they're giving him total creative freedom. That's how they got him. They were like, here's a bunch of money, and you can just make the movie that you want. And we're going to distribute it to everybody on Netflix. So we'll see if that works out. Now, as you might recall, I thought Snowpiercer was very impressive. And it was nice to see Chris Evans get like a serious role, and he did a nice job with it. And of course, Tilda Swinton was amazing. But I think the ending really fell apart. And I think that, there was a really infamous argument, once again, between Harvey Weinstein and one of his filmmakers, where they wanted to really seriously edit the film, and Bong Joon-ho didn't agree, and it just was a mess, right? So anyway, that's, I think, one of the reasons that he's really into creative freedom, right? He's like, let me make what I want, and I don't have to deal with anybody cutting up my movie. At least his movie got released. Go talk to the guy who made Grace of Monaco, the La Vie en Rose, Edith Piaf filmmaker. So anyway, this is going to be a movie about a monster, which is a little bit interesting because When a Monster Calls from J.A. Bayona is coming out soon, which is kind of the same thing. And they're both kind of like adult versions of Monsters, Inc. But anyway, it's about a monster who visits kids, I guess. And the main star will actually be a South Korean little girl. They're still looking for that actress, whoever will portray her. And the story will take place in New York and South Korea simultaneously. We don't quite know what the link is yet, but Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be in it. So that means he's going to Netflix. Tilda Swinton, and they're still rounding out the South Korean side of the cast. I'm all for that. I'm all for making the movie-going audience feel more one instead of fragmenting them globally. So I think that's exciting. And I hope that Bong Joon-ho, does a little bit better job trying to make his movies a little bit more commercial if he wants people to continue to give him $50 million. But because, Netflix can't keep doing this forever if this doesn't work out. And we'll see. They're very much in the experimental try it stage. But if they don't get strong results, they're going to have to change their business model, right? TV's obviously worked for them, doing their own TV shows, but movies is a different animal. But what I think is interesting is that they've basically taken Jason Blum's business model. Jason Blum does the horror movies, but what his business model is so successfully is that he says, hey, I'm not going to pay you very much, and I'm not going to give you a very big budget, but you can do whatever you want. And so that you live or die by your work, and it's going to prove to hopefully be a great stepping stone for you. And it has. James Wan is his. Scott Derrickson, who's going on to do Doctor Strange now, is his. So the Jason Blum formula, for the most part, has worked out. Of course, Gem and the Holograms is his, and that's one of the biggest flops of all time. So I think Netflix is kind of just took his model and then just poured a bunch of money into it. So they're getting obviously bigger names, of course. Brad Pitt, you can do whatever you want. Bong Joon-ho, you can do whatever you want. And I'm very curious to see what the results of that are, right? I mean, Beast of No Nation was something they acquired, but these are movies that are being made in-house, just like Ridiculous Six. So I'm very curious to see what the results are and if people tune in. I would definitely tune in, even though I didn't like Snowpiercer, but I thought Snowpiercer again showed potential. But I'm very curious to see what Bong Joon-ho Unleashed looks like. And, Snowpiercer had around a similar budget, too. So very interesting. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day has to do with Illumination Entertainment. And they've finally revealed, they've pulled back the curtain on their December 2016 release. It is not The Grinch Stole Christmas, which I was hoping it would be, but instead it's this weird movie called Sing. So let me explain it to you, and then we can discuss how George Lucas should be really offended. So it's called Sing, and it stars the voices of Matthew McConaughey, who's very busy in animation, by the way. He's also doing a voice in Kubo and the Two Strings for Leica. He's not Japanese, though, so I think it's weird he's doing a voice, a Japanese tale. And also, he's not a koala bear, so I think it's not great that he's doing a koala bear voice and Sing. But anyway, Reese Witherspoon will also be in the cast, Seth MacFarlane, Taron Edgerton. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's interesting that Taron Edgerton is getting into animation as well. That guy is starting to really, whoever his representation is doing a very good job at diversifying his portfolio. I still think he should be young Han Solo. We'll see if that works out. I think he'd be so good in that role. He's the only person I can see potentially, making it work and making you not miss Harrison Ford. Although with Hollywood's casting luck, probably won't happen. And also he's very busy, because he's already going to be Robin Hood. He's already, of course, Eggsy from the Kingsman movies. But I still think he's my Han Solo pick. That or the guy who played young Harrison Ford in The Age of Adeline, because he looked exactly like Harrison Ford, and it was freaky. So back to Sing. All these actors are going to play various animals, again with the animals, and I think that after Zootopia, I don't really, and Zootopia also comes out in 2016, but in the spring. I mean, how many anthropomorphic animal movies are we going to have, really? But anyway, here, Matthew McConaughey is a koala bear who owns a theater, and the theater isn't doing very well. So to re-energize its finances, he decides to hold a mega sing-off, the best sing-off of all time. And all these people are competing. All these animals are competing, voiced by these actors. But this is the major selling point for Sing. It's going to have a soundtrack that features, wait for it, 85 hit songs. Now, obviously, they can't sing 85 hit songs. Maybe they'll have them in their entirety on the soundtrack, but they're going to have snippets of them throughout the movie. And so I guess the real draw there is you're going to have like famous songs, but with covers done by these actors, right? Maybe some of them will be comedic, who knows? But basically, it's the Glee formula. It's the jukebox musical. We've seen that on television be very successful. We've seen that on Broadway be very successful. But not really right now. I think this window kind of passed. I would also, and the reason I mentioned George Lucas is you might recall a little movie called Strange Magic, an animated film that also was a jukebox musical. And it did very poorly at the box office. People were like aggressively against that movie, which I felt was unfair because I actually kind of liked that movie. As you might recall from my review, I thought it was very solid and was something that I enjoyed watching, and I thought it had a good message to it as well. But a jukebox musical is very much its own entity, and I wouldn't really call it, even with Strange Magic, A material, right? Because the really good animated movies like Frozen, they write their own songs. And I even when you look back to when Elton John was not only working at Disney, but then he moved to DreamWorks. I mean, the soundtrack for El Dorado, for instance, is amazing. The Sinbad soundtrack, well, that doesn't really have any songs. It's a score, but it's just absolutely fantastic. Prince of Egypt. DreamWorks doesn't really, have musicals anymore, which is unfortunate. But the original musical, just like, people prefer an original Broadway musical as well, is always better. So I'm curious, what do you think of Sing? Are you like, wow, I have to see that? Because Illumination has a spotty track record. Obviously, the Despicable Me franchise, huge. They did a very nice job with the Lorax, so that's why they're going to do Dr. Seuss movies going forward, so that was excellent. Hop didn't really work out for them, though, and I think The Secret Life of Pets is going to be huge for them, but this also seems a little bit too similar to The Secret Life of Pets. So this, to me, until we see a trailer, maybe that'll change my mind, but right now on paper, I'm not impressed with this. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. So that's today's morning movie news, the variety pack. Be sure to comment down below on your favorite stories. Don't forget to tweet me to enter a chance to get Terminator Genesis Blu-ray if you would like one. And then, of course, let me know what you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have. Also, Wise Owl Reads. You have a question about a college paper. I hope I'm not too late, but I'm going to answer that tomorrow. All right, I just wanted you to know that it was coming in case you're working on your paper. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and you can check out some other episodes right now.